Hey, I'm doing laundry. And no, I don't normally sit here to do laundry, but sometimes it's just relaxing to see advanced technology like the washing machine do all the work for you. I don't use a dishwasher. I made that clear previously, but I do use a washing machine because imagine trying to do all that by hand. Didn't really know what to talk about today, but I've been watching Cobra Kai. Yeah, I think people have heard me before say that I'm not too into TV shows. It's a little hard for me to get into them. Depending, a lot of people are like, it's very loud in here. I kind of give up on this. I feel like TV just goes on too long. Sometimes it feels like we don't need this many episodes. We don't need them to go on this long. This story probably could have a couple things cut out. But TV shows have, even since the boom of the television age and everyone being really into them, things like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones. I mean, Breaking Bad was amazing. But just so many shows since then. TV shows have started to get a little better for my liking anyway. One of the best things I thought was the fact that things like Disney Plus started doing less than 20 or even 13 episodes. With streaming services, they seem to start doing a standard 13 episode run, sometimes 10 episodes, but Disney Plus kind of messed with the format a little more, and that made me happy. But another thing that happened was the TV shows started to mess with the run times too, so now everything is a standard 40 minutes, which, I kind of thought that's what the point of streaming service was to begin with, that there's a lot more freedom with it. So why did we have shows that were still being released in 40-minute chunks? It's not like, it needs to fill up an hour with commercials on regular network television. It's streaming. You can watch it whenever. So over time, the shows have started to adapt. I'm guessing a lot of these shows were originally meant to be aired on television, like networks, and then a streaming service picked it up, so that's probably why they were like 40 minutes. But the shows have adapted, and one of the best things they've started to do is that they make less episodes, or at least the run times are less, and it starts to be more like an extended movie, which is like what television should be. That's the promise of television, was that, hey, it's better than movies because you get to learn more about the characters, get better stories, and it's like, yeah, but a lot of them just kind of go on too long. And there's some shows that they tried different things that I'm not even too into. I did say that Mandalorian Season 1, I wasn't too into. It was okay, but I honestly didn't love it as much as everyone was talking about. It really wasn't until Season 2, the last 4 episodes, where I was like, this is what I felt the promise of this show was, where we're turning it into an episodic series, but at the same time it feels like an extended movie. That's kind of what I want. Something that's not too long, but something that still feels like an extended story that has a lot of compelling characters, a story that's invigorating, with every episode kind of being contained in a way, but overall it tells a narrative all the way throughout. I mean, that's what television kind of is, but to say that all television is better than movies nowadays, it's like, I feel like that's a little off still, because to me, a lot of them still run a little too long, but they've improved. Cobra Kai was a perfect example. Now, I didn't watch this show when it was on YouTube. I wasn't going to pay for that streaming service, but I was kind of interested in the idea just because it was a theory I had heard before, which is what the show pretty much is. It's an extended version of that theory that Karate Kid, LaRusso was actually the villain and that Johnny was the good guy. It kind of started as I feel like it was a YouTube theory video at one point. I know How I Met Your Mother made a big joke about it as well, so it's been around. So when they said they were going to make a television show about it, I was like, this is interesting. But do I want to watch it? I don't know. I love when they can reinvigorate properties years later. I mean, I love the new Star Wars stuff, the movies, and, I started getting into The Mandalorian Season 2. I love other things like, you know, even like things like Blade Runner. I was glad they made a sequel to that. But, you know, I like when they start to bring back stuff from the past. I'm okay with reboots and reinvigorating the franchise with new sequels, especially when they're continuations. I'm not a big fan of starting over. I love when they actually kind of continue the series in an interesting way. But I don't know if Karate Kid was really begging for it. Karate Kid, yeah, I mean, I've seen the movie, and definitely would probably love it more if I would have seen it at that time, or if I would have seen it at a younger age. But it's still a worthy movie, very much like Rocky, but it's still a worthy movie. I've never seen the sequels, and that was another reason why I held off on Cobra Kai. But, you know, the reason really is that I didn't feel like that was an 80s property that needed to come back. And I also didn't feel like the show, because it was a show, I wasn't too excited to watch a TV show, because it's a lot of dedication. You gotta sit through a lot of episodes that aren't good at first. Usually, sometimes. And, I mean, isn't that even a joke online? Like, oh, this show's really good, watch it. Yeah, you just, you know, you gotta skip like season 1 and 2, but once you get to season 3, it starts getting real good, and it's like, I don't know. But I started watching it now that it's been on Netflix, and I got hooked real quick. 10 episodes for each season, around 30 minutes, or even less sometimes. Sometimes it's less than 30 minutes of a runtime. So it gets down to a point where I'm like, wow, I can actually binge this. I did pretty much. I finished season 1, and I actually pretty much binged season 2 in the last, last night and today. So pretty much it took like kind of a day-ish. A day of movie watching turned into just watching Cobra Kai season 2. And I got hooked. I gotta be honest, I'm really into this. I think it's really interesting how they're taking the original villain, which people have argued is not really the villain, but kind of giving it more of a dimension, trying to put them into these new roles, but giving them a little more of a nuanced outlook. Like, you know, Johnny doesn't immediately become the original John Kreese, and LaRusso is not immediately a Miyagi. I thought that was really interesting because, you know, he still has a temper. He can't, even though he's aged, he's still not as wise and calm as Miyagi was. LaRusso still has his own problems, and he still kind of is himself, and he's trying to be something, but, you know, it doesn't always work out. But Johnny is very good. William Zabka, I mean, I don't know if I've seen him in anything else but Karate Kid. He hasn't been around, I feel like, in movies until Cobra Kai. He was probably in some other things that I've just not seen, but man, he's very talented. Like, I have to be honest, like, it's kind of, because, you know, they were cast in the movie when they were younger, and usually that's kind of what happens, is they're in one movie and then they're in a bunch of one-offs, but not necessarily career actors. But he is very good, and I was like, I know they have to cast him again because he was the original Johnny, and same with LaRusso. It's the original LaRusso, so you have to use those actors. But man, they're both pretty good. But William Zabka especially, really, I was surprised. Characters are very good. The newer characters, the younger characters, I love how, like, it's still kind of cheesy at times, like the original movies were, and they have to write a lot of that into the lore. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous that John Kreese tried to kill Johnny at one point. Like, that's in Karate Kid 2, but the point is that they got to keep it. They're not trying to retcon anything, and I think that's really neat. I like that they're kind of keeping everything in there. It's very unapologetic with its language and with its way of talking, and just kind of giving you a different perspective. It's definitely commenting on what the times are like now versus the 80s, but I feel like it's got a good middle, where it's not trying to be, like, too friendly for everybody to be, you know. Some of these movies have a very, it's kind of like a fakiness to them, where it's like you're trying to just appease a crowd, and I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, but some movies just can't do it. They're very blatantly forcing it, and it doesn't turn out good. But this movie was, this show is very unapologetic with its style and with its way of talking, and it still doesn't feel like it's mean, but it doesn't feel mean-spirited, if that makes any sense. Like, it definitely is trying to push some buttons, but I don't see anybody actually getting like offended by the way the show is. And I think that's a really hard, it's a very fine line you have to dance there, but I feel like this show is pulling it off surprisingly well. It's kind of, I hate to throw this term out there, but it very much is badass. That's pretty much what it is. I don't know. So just finished season 2. I definitely want to move on to season 3. I just thought about talking about it because I watch TV. I don't watch it as much as movies, but I watch a lot of like 80s properties reinvigorated for modern times. I don't really talk about them all. I can't. I don't have the time to talk about absolutely everything that comes back from the 80s or from the 90s or other movies. There's just not enough time. I talk about Star Wars and that's about it. If Indiana Jones ever comes out, I'll talk about that, but a lot of the other stuff I just don't really get to, and it just seems like there's so many reboots, and there's especially a lot of continuations of TV shows nowadays, and I just can't get to all of them, and a lot of them I haven't even seen the original TV shows, and I try to watch them, but it's all too hard to keep up with television. But I'm so glad I actually gave Cobra Kai a chance, and even though I'm not the biggest Karate Kid fan, and I haven't even seen all the sequels, but still, I was shocked by how good it was. Like, it's not a completely serious show, but it's also not completely cheesy. It really did bring back kind of the style of the original movie. But it's a little funnier than the original movie. Like, it has a humor about itself. It has a humor about the whole thing. But I don't know. It's like, I feel like a lot of, especially because it is kind of a high school show, I feel like a lot of the stuff that's in it, other high school shows do it. It's kind of like, like Riverdale or especially 13 Reasons Why. There's some cool stuff in it and there's some really awesome stories, but a lot of the drama gets to be a little too much. And I'm like, high schoolers don't act like this. But I mean, here's a comparison. Like, 13 Reasons Why season 2 ended with like a big fight in the school, and it was one of the dumbest things I ever saw. It was so stupid. It felt so out of place, so dumb, and I was like, how did this season even build to this? So ridiculous. Cobra Kai season 2 also ends in a high school with a giant fight, and it was awesome. And I believe it. And it actually gets kind of sad. So it's like, it's weird. It's making me believe in the possibility that a high school drama can still work. It's not 100% drama. It's got comedy in there too, but I don't know. I should do an extended review of Cobra Kai once I finish season 3. Season 3 was the one that was on Netflix. The first 2 seasons were done through YouTube, and obviously premium movies. I feel like I looked at this the other day to see what new premium shows and movies there are, and it doesn't look like there's been any movies since 2019. And it looks like for TV shows there hasn't been a lot. So I guess YouTube Premium in a way just fell apart. I know that they've been trying to boost it with just ad-free music, which, makes sense, and ad-free video in general, which, I mean, it seems like they're ramping up the ads also as much as they're trying to get like, no, get YouTube Premium, please. They're also like, there's way more ads than there's ever been previously. Like, most videos I watch now have 2 ads at the beginning, 2 at the end when the video is finished, and then there's like some sprinkled in between. I know I'm a YouTuber, so I'm like, well, why are you complaining about the ads? You get paid. Sure. But like, it's kind of ridiculous. There's like way too many ads, and clearly I can't figure out if YouTube's trying to make more money or if they're trying to make an excuse to get YouTube Premium, because they don't have like any exclusive content anymore. So it's only about the ad free. And it got to the point where I guess nobody liked anything on YouTube Premium except for Cobra Kai. And Cobra Kai was so good, like YouTube was like, oh, we're not even good enough to have this. Everyone's excited for season 3 because we ended season 2 on a major cliffhanger, and we didn't realize that this show was going to be that good. Like, we told the creators, this is kind of funny to bring this, internet theory back into existence and make it like an actual show out of it, but we didn't know it'd be this good. So then YouTube was like, Netflix, take it. And then Netflix will probably end it on the cliffhanger with season 4 and cancel it, like they cancel all their TV shows. And I'm not even a fan of all those TV shows, but yeah, Netflix cancels way too many TV shows. and they tick fans off constantly. I'm gonna go watch some Cobra Kai season 3. I'm gonna wait for my laundry to clean. So